Making big life decisions in an authentic way can feel scary as heck. It takes courage to choose what you want. It takes practice to know, trust, and follow what your gut is telling you. So today I'm providing you with the inspiration and encouragement I could have told myself when I was making some of my biggest life decisions to date. One thing I've learned throughout these life decisions and throughout coaching hundreds of clients to make their own authentic decisions, not following your gut in life decisions is often what leads to regret, to not feeling happy or satisfied in life. Or if you don't follow your gut, living someone else's version of life until one day you wake up and have a quarter or midlife crisis and make the decisions eventually that your gut has been telling you to make all along. So let's get the encouragement and the courage now with 11 things I wish I could have told myself when I was making some of my biggest life decisions. The first and maybe most obvious thing I wish I could tell my past self when she was making big life decisions is to trust your gut. As my original life coach mentor shared with us that actually someone had mentored for her, you already know. This phrase and this concept that you already know your answers. Sometimes it takes patience, sometimes it takes perspective or a coach to help you unearth those answers. But I wish I could tell myself, trust that gut feeling. And that doesn't necessarily mean action. We'll hear about that in a second. But that does mean that you can trust what you're feeling, trust the direction that you're being guided toward, and trust the outcome on the other side. Even if that journey gets a little rocky at times, it is worth it in the long run. Number 2, it does not have to make logical sense yet. My past self, and honestly my current self, sometimes has a hard time trusting my gut because the logic doesn't back it up, at least right away. And I see my clients grapple with this a lot as well. Maybe you too grapple with this if you're prone to writing the pro-con lists and trying to explain your gut feeling. And when we can't explain it or logic our way or pro-con list our way through that decision, sometimes it feels like the gut feeling is wrong. I think specifically when I chose to leave my PhD program in positive developmental psychology and pursue my master's instead, you guys have heard that story plenty of times by this point. But I remember one reason why that decision felt so hard is because the logic side of things really backed the idea of staying in the PhD program. Whenever I sat down for the pro-con lists or talked it through with someone or wrote about it, logically, it always made sense to stay in the PhD program. And yet my gut persisted to tell me to leave, to pursue a different path. So the second thing I wish I could tell that past self, the logic doesn't have to be there yet. Number 3, past Marin, you can wait to decide. It's okay to hold off. It's okay to pause, to gather more data, to gather support around you so that you can follow through with this decision. Because this does take strength and it takes courage. And so it's understandable if you need a second to build that up and make this decision or follow through with the decision that you've already made in a few weeks, in a few months, even in a few years. Just be respectful of who it's impacting, acknowledge that, and do some reflection if you're just delaying it due to discomfort, or if you really do need this time to build the support, the understanding, and the logic around yourself to follow through confident. Number 4, what I wish I could have told my past self when she was making big life decisions is, this is gonna hurt. I imagine myself sitting on our bed, me and her next to each other, and just holding a hand out or giving her a hug and just saying, this isn't gonna be fun at times. This is gonna be really painful at times. And that doesn't mean you're wrong. That doesn't mean that this situation is wrong. That just means that this is life and that's part of the journey. And you are strong enough to make it through. And guess what? If you made a different choice, one that wasn't authentic and true to you, that would hurt in some other ways as well. So I guess this bittersweet, tough love message of no matter what, there's going to be some pain, there's going to be some discomfort, and you've got this, and you're gonna make it out the other side, and you'll be stronger and you will be more confident because of persevering through that and following your gut. not only in the moment, but for the long run. 5, the 5th thing I wish I could tell my past self when she was making big life decisions. This is just the beginning. It's really just the cliche of trusting the journey and that being the beautiful part of life, not these end destinations. yet past me when making these big life decisions, and still sometimes present day me, and I definitely see this with my clients, all the love sent to them, is this anticipation for the payoff. When will life be comfortable and easy again? And the truth is, it is comfortable and easy and fun and joyful and fulfilling. And also there's moments of spiraling and regret or presumed regret, reflection, grief. So to tell my past self, yes, you are making this one decision and I'm so excited for you and so much is going to change. And also, this decision isn't just one fork in the road and then you're set on that new path for life. It's more like a fork in a river. And then there's rapids and there's waterfalls, and maybe I even have to walk to a different river, or there's another fork in the river further down the line. So this is an entire journey, and actually, to make it even more meta, this is a life philosophy, to make authentic decisions and to choose to live an authentic life. Tyler and I actually just had a really great conversation about this recently, about the hardship, going back to the previous point, that comes with living authentically, because there isn't this preset that we can just select and then a bunch of decisions are already made for us. If we choose intentionally to make every single decision authentically and with self-reflection and self-awareness, there's just a little bit different feel to that lifestyle than there would be to going about the status quo. I really want to tread cautiously when I talk about this, because I am in no way saying the status quo or that traditional path is bad or wrong. Rather, it could be at times easier because these decisions are just accepted, or this timeline is just accepted as what one does or what a couple does together. And so there's less thought that goes into it in some aspects. Treading very lightly, I feel dangerous in this territory, but hopefully you understand what I mean. If not, please just ask in the comments and I will do my best to articulate. But bringing it back to this point, I want to tell my past self, this is a lifestyle. This is a whole journey that will be interwoven in everything that you do. So it's really not just this one decision, and this one decision isn't the thing that just sets you on a rocket for the rest of your life. 6, you will make so many more decisions than this one choice. I'm thinking of 2 particular big life decisions when I give this tip to my past self. One of those was my decision to start my business, Yes And, in 2018. And I remember at the forefront of that, it felt like that was the decision of my entire career lifetime. I was gonna start this business and I needed to figure out the niche and how this was gonna all unfold and what it was going to look like now and for years in the future. And I wish I could go back in time and tell myself, this is just one of many decisions that you'll make in your life and that you'll make in your career, that you will make in your business. I think back to me building my first webpage, and I felt like I needed to get it perfect. I felt like I needed to get it right, again, because I was relying on this concept that this was the decision, this was the career, this was the direction I was taking. When in fact, that webpage to this day continues to get reinvented, things added, taken away, new ideas, new programs based on my own experience, based on my growth as a business owner, entrepreneur, and coach, and based on direct feedback from my clients, none of which existed back when I first started and made the first of many career decisions regarding Yes And. With this 6th thing, I also think of my decision years prior to that when I was transferring universities. I was at CU Boulder as a dance major, and I had made the decision to not transfer to another dance university, but rather transfer to St. Thomas in Minnesota and get an undergrad in what would eventually be psychology. I wish I could go back in time and tell that Marin that this decision is not the only dance-related decision I will ever make. I think part of me at that time was really grieving and mourning that I was losing this huge part of my identity as a dancer. I thought by deciding not to pursue dance as a career, I was releasing that part of me entirely. Whereas that was just one of many decisions I would make and continue to make regarding how dance shows up in my life in a way that's nourishing, healthy, and joyful. So again, number 6, you will make so many more decisions than just this one. 7. The 7th thing I wish I could tell my past self when she was making big life decisions. You can change your mind, and you will. I'm thinking for this one specifically when I was on the phone years ago with one of my coaches trying to decide whether to take a part-time job or not. And I was feeling really nervous about this decision, in part because I thought it was the forever decision. Back to last week's video about one of the myths many of us hold when making decisions. Sometimes we just don't have the data, and I could tell her, sometimes you just don't have the data to know those things preemptively. And so go into it, take your best guess, and then remember, you can always choose differently. And oftentimes you will, and that's okay. That's not a failure. That's not anything wrong on you for not reflecting enough or not knowing yourself well enough. That's just part of learning more about yourself, learning more about your relationship with others, with jobs, with opportunities, and then refining as you go. Sometimes it's about making a decision and writing yourself a big old permission slip that you can change your mind. 8. The 8th thing I wish I could tell my past self when making some big life decisions: maybe you're looking at the wrong thing. Maybe. So this isn't for sure, but for some life decisions, I really dug my heels and thought I was for sure about this one decision being the thing that would fix or resolve or propel me in an even greater direction. When actually, if I were to dig a little bit deeper in those scenarios, there would have been a different decision or a different piece of life to reflect with and then make a decision in that area rather than pinning it all on this one thing. A recent realization of this is something that I had pinned on my intimate relationship with Tyler, when in fact, it was very much a need for myself and a desire to foster my friendships. And a few months ago, me was certain this was 100% for sure an intimate partnership thing, and we needed to focus there. And not to dismiss that entirely, we're still doing some work in that area. And also, there was this understanding, this is more of a friendship thing. This is more of you getting your people around you again, both locally and your friends that are all around the nation, and foster those relationships. And then that will have a positive ripple effect in all areas of life, including my intimate relationship. So again, 8, maybe you're putting a lot of emphasis on this one decision or this one topic, and maybe there's some perspective or some other aspects at play that you could look at as well, or instead of. Number 9, do you need to do this now? Sometimes I would make a decision in haste. I would make a decision quickly because it felt like it needed to be made. Or maybe I was just avoiding discomfort of sitting in that in-between space where a decision hasn't formally been made yet. I wish I could tell myself, enjoy the before of making this decision. Let me give an example. In 2020, when the world was going into lockdown, my partner Tyler and I wanted to get a little bit more space as opposed to living near downtown Minneapolis. And so we looked to the mountains of Bozeman. We moved there and it was gorgeous. We absolutely loved the town, but eventually realized and decided that we wanted to be closer to home, to friends and family. Some of you saw this all unfold in this video here, which I'll link below. Check it out after this video to see a decision made in real time. But if I could go back in time to that specific decision, I would just have Marin pause just a little bit longer, of course Tyler as well, and ask, do you need to move now? Maybe you want to wait even just a few more months. And maybe we would have still moved at the time that we moved. But where I'm standing today, in hindsight, we could have potentially waited a few more months, enjoyed the mountainous town that we fell in love with, and waited just a little bit longer to return to family and friends, even though we already knew that was going to happen eventually. Likewise, Tyler and my decision to get engaged, old Marin definitely wanted that to happen ASAP. In fact, about a year or 2 into our relationship, I was already asking if he was ready to make that step. If I could go back in time and whisper something in Marin's ear and help her to actually believe it and buy into it, I would advise her to enjoy that season, which feels cliche at this point because I've also heard a lot of individuals talk about enjoying the before season, and especially before the wedding and before getting married. So now I can just adopt that advice right now in this season of engagement, because a lot changes once we're married. So again, number 9, do you need to decide this now? And maybe you even want to delay that decision in order to enjoy the current season that you're in. 10, the 10th thing I wish I could have told myself when I was making some of my biggest life decisions. Let it be messy. I would tell my past self, send the first email. Trust your emotions, trust your gut, trust your current experience, and don't smooth out the edges or try to make it more perfect or comfortable. That takes away so much of the authenticity. And yeah, it feels vulnerable as heck because it will be straight from your heart, but that leads to more real connections and a more real life for yourself. That note about the first email, and this is specifically what I'm thinking when I'm thinking of number 10, is an email I wrote in real time, vulnerably, straight from my heart about what I was experiencing in that moment. And then, after working with my coach or doing some more self-reflection and rereading and editing that response email, I ended up writing a totally separate email and sending that one instead. Partially because I was being protective of my emotional state, and there's a lot to unpack there, but also because I felt like I needed to articulate things perfectly or better instead of letting it be a little messy and unorganized. But the truth is that first email was so much more real about what I was genuinely feeling in that moment, and the second one grazed the surface and painted a picture that really wasn't accurate at the time. So number 10, let it be messy, let it be vulnerable, let it be real. And 11, the 11th thing I wish I could whisper in my past self's ear when making big life decisions is you are not alone in this. Sometimes when we make these big life decisions, when we're at this crossroad, it can feel like we're alone. It can feel like it's all on our shoulders, especially if we go into this space of making an authentic decision, making a decision that is true for us. In fact, in so many of my videos, you hear me say, filter back through your authentic lens, do that reflection after or in the midst of gathering all the data and asking all the opinions and support from those around you. How do you feel? And some of that does require solitude or creating space for yourself, for your voice, for your feelings, for your gut. And also, I wish I could tell my past self, you can still call up your friends or your therapists or your significant other and talk this through, or at least share that this is what you're going through. This is the decision you're making. And potentially you already have an awareness of, speaking to you and also speaking to my past self, some people that may disagree with your decision or may not be the best person to rely on or lean on in terms of really being your cheerleader about this particular stance you are choosing. However, you can find those people, and in fact, it is so important to find those people. Online, there are so many spaces, therapists and coaches, that's what they are there for, to support you in your decision. That is such a huge part of this decision-making process, is having a community around you to encourage you and motivate you and uplift you and empower you to follow that gut, going all the way back to number 1. Follow your gut feeling, to trust it, and to be confident in it, to stand in what you're feeling and what you're experiencing and what you're desiring. So find those people and know that they exist. Sometimes it's just a matter of finding who they are and differentiating who they're not. And if any of you are doubting that at all, I am in your corner. At the very minimum, I am here. And if a video doesn't even feel intimate enough, comment below. And if you want even more, I'll share at the end of this video how you can get personalized coaching support directly from me. All right, after going through 11 things I wish I could have told myself when I was making big life decisions, what ones stood out to you most? Comment below, and also please comment your own tips. FYI, I came up with some of these 11 tips by thinking, what advice do I want to tell myself right now? If I could be a fly on the wall or take more of an objective standpoint in my current life decisions, what advice might I need to hear? You can do the same. Ask yourself, what advice do you need to hear? Or what advice, again, would you tell your past self when you were making some big life decisions? And share them in the comments. I would love to hear your tips, and also everyone else I know would enjoy hearing your tips as well. If you want more of this type of video on my channel, give this video a like if you haven't already, and share this with a friend, especially a friend who may be navigating some big life choices of their own. And I almost forgot to mention maybe the most important piece of this video. I say this at the end of most of my videos as a friendly reminder that all of this work and these practices have the most impact when, 1, you ask and apply these questions into your own life, and 2, you have the accountability and support to follow through with these insights and these reflections that you gain. If you benefited from hearing my stories today and the things I wish I could have told my past self, then you will most likely benefit from hearing others' perspectives who are walking this same journey of living an authentic life and making more authentic decisions. And you can find out with a free 14-day trial for my group coaching program, the Yes and Experience. I have that link in the description below. Join us for at least 2 of our group calls that happen every single week, and receive instantly access to 3 different wellness challenges where I apply this decision-making framework to one area of your life. So you have focus and you see these great strides unfold for you in that area of your life immediately. then I highly suggest you watch this video next. I mentioned it in one of my past self tips, and that was our decision to leave Bozeman and to move back to the Twin Cities. You see me in real time with diary entry footage make that decision, and then you see as Tyler and I literally move back from Montana to the Twin Cities. And that is all for today. Thank you for joining me for another Yes and by Marin YouTube video. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already for free trainings based in positive psychology and coaching practices every Tuesday, and I look forward to seeing you next time.